All right, it's all you, sir.
Hey, good morning. Ken Hovind here. I was going to respond to an article that was posted by Peter Reilly from Forbes magazine. The Bible says in Titus chapter 1, verse 10, some people's mouths must be stopped, and there are people saying things about me again, which once in a while I'd just like to let the world know what the truth is. So if you find this article, Rudy's going to put it up on screen so you can see it, answer paragraph by paragraph. There are 13 paragraphs in this article, and so far 2 comments, so maybe only 2 or 3 people are reading this, but hopefully even less will read his stuff next time. But anyway, the article was posted on blogspot.com Friday, April 10th, 2015, and the title is Hovindication Finds Its Opposite, if Not Equal, Reaction. And I'm just going to respond by paragraph. Paragraph number 1, he talks about the hyper-literal reading of the book of Genesis. I guess I wasn't aware there was such a thing as a hyper-literal reading. I do read the book of Genesis. I believe it is literally true. I don't know why the word hyper would be in there, but that's interesting. But yes, he says kids love dinosaurs. That's true. So you can understand why Ken Hovind, Dr. Dino, came up with the notion of Dinosaur Adventureland so he could teach real science to young people while they played around with dinosaurs. Exactly correct. Bingo, you got it right on the head. Perfect. That's why I did it and why I intend to continue doing it. Using dinosaurs to teach the creation story and the Bible story, because evolutionists have been using dinosaurs, which kids love, to teach their stupid religion of evolution for the last couple of hundred years. I think it's time we have the truth taught about dinosaurs. Okay, and second paragraph. The militantly rational. Wow, militantly rational, as I call them. I don't know what that means. Peter, maybe you can explain that. Find Dinosaur Adventureland offensive in more ways than there are begats in Genesis. Well, I'd like to know a couple of those, because there's a whole lot of begats in Genesis. I'm going to doubt that. I don't think they find it offensive in that many ways. I think it's basically offensive because it goes against their religion of evolution, that's all. Anyway, Amanda Kondrat'yev has been covering the Ken Hovind trial under the pen name Janet Yang. You don't need to use a pen name, Janet. Amanda. Just tell the truth. Who are you? Anyway, so you can cover the trial. That'd be great. Just don't lie. Please don't lie about it. It says she is planning counter demonstrations at the May trial. Well, I didn't know it was that important, but Rudy, you guys been down there holding up signs and marching around at the trial. He's trying to explain the truth to people about what the government did in my case. So this Amanda wants to do a counter demonstration. That's fine. Maybe you can win her to Christ while she's down there. And it says Amanda would like to see a park that teaches establishment science. That concerns me, and probably ought to concern everybody, because all through history, establishment science.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
And taught things that were wrong. Remember, they wanted to, destroy Galileo, and they burned people at the stake for daring to differ with their establishment science. Like, for instance, a variety of things have been taught. Just study any history of science and see the different things they've taught that are just simply wrong. And anybody that dares to question that can be banned or burned. And let me go on here. Or what most of us call science. Amanda, let me explain a couple things to you. I'm hoping you get to read this and listen. I want to be here. I want to help. Okay. Science means knowledge. What do we know? From the word seer. Knowledge, to know. We know we are alive. We do not know the earth is billions of years old. We do not know dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. We can believe that. That is no longer science, though. Science deals with what we know. And this is actually Peter J. Reilly speaking this paragraph. But Peter, science is, the idea of evolution is not part of science. It's part of a religion that has been thoroughly mixed in with science. So you've got to be careful to distinguish the two. You don't want to eat the meat and swallow this bone, okay? She wants to see what most of us call science at the site of the original Dinosaur Adventureland. Here is what she has written, PJR, Peter J. Reilly. Paragraph number 3. I visited Anthony Jaworski today. Well, let me explain here, folks. Anthony is the guy who bought the property 5720 5720 North Palafox. He came and testified at the trial. 5720 North Palafox was the place where we did our shipping and receiving for Dinosaur Adventureland and Creation, drdino.com, the Creation Science Evangelism Ministry. It was also where we had all of our offices for video editing. It's an older house, built 1932, I believe, remodeled several times since then. We had to put an extensive amount of money into it. And Anthony, because the government seized it, Anthony bought it at auction and moved down to Pensacola from Maryland. I feel so sorry for the guy. The government, I think, fooled him. Did not realize there were still issues. The case was still ongoing. And by the way, today it is still ongoing over these properties. It's not over. In the government's mind, it's over. Don't dare question it. We've got the property. How dare you think it could even ever be overturned? Well, I'm sorry. There are several ways it can still be overturned, and we tend to use the lawful methods if possible to get justice done in this case. Anyway, Amanda says she visited Anthony Jaworski. He is the current owner of the only part of Kent Hovind's compound. Now, Amanda, why would you use a word like that, a compound? This is, he talks about hyper-literal. This is certainly hyper-inflammatory, as like it's a compound. And people came there from all over the world to visit. There's nothing to hide. There's no compound. Not an armed compound like you think. I think you're trying to use, what do they call it, yellow journalism to put a bad light. It was my house where I lived for 25 years. It was right in my backyard where we had Dinosaur Adventureland. We had 100,000 visitors come from 120 countries in all 50 states. And everybody had a wonderful time. They had a blast. It was a science. We taught kids about science, and they loved it. Anyway, and we'll get it open again, maybe, or build a bigger one, which is where you come in later, and I'll talk to you about that in the article here. So paragraph 3 says, you visited Kent Hovind's compound that wasn't tangled into ministerial trusts by Hovind's son and family friends. Friends/family. Okay, my sons did not do anything with the trusts, okay? This was remedies at law. They are perfectly legitimate trusts. It would not work on land owned by the United States, but that land is not and was not owned by the United States, would be the argument. Okay, I had written a letter to Jaworski inquiring about Dinosaur Adventureland. He called me 2 weeks later and invited me to see it. I went out the following morning with my husband and a real estate investor/filmmaker friend. Paragraph 4. When we arrived, Jaworski slid open the gate and pulled up patio chairs. He claims that police and the owner of the Drowsy Poet are working with Hovind family to force him out of the house. Well, Amanda, somebody's lying here, okay? You or him, because nobody's trying to force him out of the house. We want to win the case, get everything turned back as was, and the government will have to restore his money. Nobody's trying to force him out of his house. I'd like to see evidence.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
He has been assaulted to the point of losing eyesight. Well, I'm sure sorry to hear about that. And second, 2 lines down, he claims about the terrible economy in Pensacola. You know, I just wonder if maybe the economy in Pensacola might be terrible because of the way they persecute people who try to serve God. I mean, I don't know. But it certainly would be something to look at, because God promises he will bless those that bless you and curse him that curseth you. In Genesis 12, he promised that for the Jews, his people. And then Proverbs 17, today's the 17th, verse number 15, talks about you want to be careful about persecuting the righteous people. God takes it serious when you go after righteous people. So that just, I don't know, but maybe there's a little connection there you might want to investigate. Okay, paragraph 5, I'll call back and get that one.
Yes, sir.
This call will be recorded and monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $18.88. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Okay, paragraph number 5. I love this one. Amanda says, I look over at the abandoned Dinosaur Adventureland wistfully. It would be so perfect as an action actual science learning center. Oh, Amanda, trust me, it was. It was perfect. We had 180 science lessons that we taught, each of which had a spiritual lesson also. We taught them about all sorts of real science. You would be just amazed. You would love it. And when we get it open again, I'll personally give you a tour. Anyway, the next line says, more on the Pensacola Dino U later. I think this is classic, Amanda. That would be the perfect name. If you do open a place that teaches evolution, you should call it Pensacola Dino U, and everybody could just use the abbreviations and call it PU, which would be extremely appropriate if you're teaching evolution. Okay. We may need a letter campaign or something to break up those ministerial trusts. Not quite sure. Well, why would you want to break up a ministerial trust? If it's legitimate, it's legitimate. Just leave us alone. The world is really big, you know. I bet there's land someplace else in the world besides those little 5 acres there. I think if you get a globe, you'll find there are other places above water that you could build your PU. Okay, paragraph 6. After it all, he told us that he believed God restored his eyesight because he prayed for days, and that Christians like Hovind's family confuse him because they are so horrible to him. Again, Amanda, that's the first I've ever heard of. I don't think anybody from my family's been horrible to him at all. I wrote him one very kind letter, offered to pay him to use some things there on the property. So I'd have to see evidence of that. Anyway, so she says, he called us angels and thanked us for filling. Now, if you're going to teach evolution, I'm curious, Amanda, do you believe in angels? Seems like a little conflict there. Okay. He called us angels and thanked us for filling him in about Kent Hovind and the charges he faces. The charges he faces. He knows all about this. I mean, he lives in Pensacola. It's in the news. Anyway, goes on, paragraph 6. Until today, he believed what he heard on Alex Jones and was convinced that Hovind was being tortured instead of still in business through his son's creation store just a few streets from Dinosaur Adventureland. Even after being allegedly harassed, framed, and assaulted, he was willing to believe that it was the government's fault for selling the land to him when...
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
When the Hovinds wouldn't leave him alone. I don't know who from the Hovinds is bothering him, Amanda. It's certainly not me. All I will do is win this case, get the property all back, and we will help him sue the government to get his money back. The poor guy never should have bought the place. He should get his money back with damages and move back to Maryland, and we will help him. We'll be the best friends he's ever had. Okay, so we're not bothering him. I don't know who is. Please don't say stuff like that. And I think it is the government's fault. They stole the land, we believe, from the ministry, and we think that can be demonstrated, and we're going to work on that. But meanwhile, it's in their name, and we haven't done anything other than lawful means of trying to get it back. Okay, paragraph 7. DU, I think I like the PU much better, Amanda. Just call it PU from now on. Is an idea to replace the Creation Science Evangelism Park with an actual science park. Well, Amanda, it already was an actual science park. We taught, let's see, about centrifugal force, mechanical advantage. We had all kinds of really cool science. I mean, I did teach high school science for 15 years, and I think I know quite a bit about science. And I'd be glad to take a test against any scientist you know to see, do we know about the actual science you want to talk about? Physics or biology or earth science. I think I'm probably smarter than the average bear about those subjects. Anyway, we're going to replace the park with an actual science park and with fun things that help kids understand the world. Oh, Amanda, you don't need to. We already did that. We're doing that. Just leave us alone. We're doing really good. Including dinosaurs. I wonder why you capitalize dinosaurs. And their place in the history of the world is important! Exclamation point. You cannot leave out science and then wonder why kids are growing up unable to perform to standards. Oh, Amanda, this is exactly correct. And that's what's happened in the last 50 or 60 years. Our public schools have been teaching exclusively the stupid religion of evolution. And then we wonder why they not only cannot perform up to standards, they cannot behave up to standards. They don't have any moral compass. I think it's a stupid evolution religion that is destroying both science and morals. So you really ought to come onto our side. We're doing it without tax dollars, by the way, and not costing anybody anything. Yeah, we're teaching kids science and morals and doing a wonderful thing for society. And everybody that came loved it. We could get you thousands of testimonies of people who came to Dinosaur Adventureland and said, man, that was the neatest place on earth. Kids would cry at closing time. Do we have to go home? Yeah, I'm sorry, son. Get out of here. We got to go eat some supper. We're closing. Come back tomorrow. It was really, really fun. Okay. Just a few lines here. You said, Hovind used the park to brainwash children and indoctrinate them into obedience. Wow. First, it is the evolution theory and the public schools that are doing the brainwashing and indoctrinating them. And we just teach kids the truth, teach them God made the world. And yes, you should pretend to be obedient to God. He said, don't kill, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Are those bad things to teach kids? For instance, we teach it's wrong to kill your unborn child. We think that is murder, abortion. Why on earth is it always the baby that has to be aborted? Why don't we abort the mother once in a while and keep the baby? Or let's abort the father and keep the baby. Or at least have a lottery, draw three straws. One for father, one for mother, one for baby, to decide who dies. Give the kid a sporting chance. Let's put another straw in there, one for president, and maybe one for doctor. Yeah, let's give the kid a chance, for heaven's sake. And we teach the kids obedience to God's law, and it's wrong to murder people. And we think abortion is murder. We don't get violent about it, but some do, obviously. But no, we think it's obviously, we should teach kids the truth. It's alive after it's conceived. Anyway, Dino U would help supplement the deficiency in science education in the area. If you think Pensacola has a deficiency in science education, I think you need to go fix the public schools. Here you got one place, Dinosaur Adventureland, that is teaching the truth, and you want to pick on that one? How many public schools are there teaching evolution in that area? That's where the deficiency in science is. Paragraph 8. There are many underperforming and failing schools within a 30-minute drive. Oh, Amanda, there are underperforming and failing schools within a 2,000-mile drive all over the country, and it's because of that stupid evolution religion. That's why they're failing. One of the major factors. I think it's destroying common sense science. She says, the closest school to Dinosaur Adventureland is a charter school where teachers were caught just last week in a scandal involving grade changing and teachers watching porn in the classrooms. Oh my. Well, Amanda, let me ask you a question. If you believe in evolution, why would either of those be wrong? How would you tell what is wrong on any subject? Why would changing grades be wrong? Why would watching porn be wrong? Tell me how you determine how anything is wrong. Because you put this in your article, it appears that you're implying that these things are not good. If evolution is true and the strongest survive and it's tooth and claw and the weakest need to be eliminated, well then, hey, I would love to know, why do you think that is wrong for teachers to watch porn in the classrooms? For heaven's sake, that's going to get them all excited and go produce more babies. We're going to expand the population on the planet. Isn't that the goal of evolution? Whoever produces the most is the best. And okay. Escambia County is in dire need of Dino U, and knows it. The idea gains supporters daily. Oh, I can see that. You had 2 comments on this article. You probably have 3 by now. Okay. And I am determined to make something happen. Go for it, Amanda. Go for it. I'll tell you what. There's property all over the world for sale. Go buy some and build your PU and teach evolution. There's already thousands of places doing that. But you don't need to pick on ours. We're just a little 5-acre spot. You just leave us alone. Okay. Amanda says, never in my life have I felt something so desperately needing attention than the state of education system here and the gross abuse and greed from many of the churches. Well, I talk about gross abuse and greed. Do you know how much money the public schools suck out of the budget every year? You know how much money it costs to have Pensacola State University and University of West Florida? And they, guess what, Amanda? They're tax exempt. They don't pay tax on their property. None of those schools do. None of the universities do. You talk about greed. Wow, if you want to go after someplace, now there's a place to start. I'll help you. I'll send you the addresses. Okay. Paragraph 9. Pensacola Christian College has a sprawling campus, state-of-the-art facilities, and uses them to ignore science in favor of religion. Well, Amanda, you got to take that up with PCC. But I trust me, I can assure you, they learn a whole lot more science than they do down the street at Pensacola State University or up at University of West Florida. They really learn science and they study hard. So they may not study about your religion of evolution, and you may feel bad that that's not included in the curriculum. But trust me, they learn science, and they have a really good science program and a well-equipped laboratory. And I happen to know personally some of the science teachers there who are really, really sharp and really know science. So I think you're mistaken here. You might want to go tour it. Tell you what, have the kids that graduate from there do a science test against kids that graduate from UWF. But don't include anything about evolution, only science. If it's physics, have a physics test that is a fair, honest, open test that doesn't include religious stuff like evolution, and just see how they do. I think you'll find them equal, if not superior, to what the public schools are doing. So after spending a whole lot more money per kid. Okay, let me skip to the next paragraph 10. You also cannot forget ABECA books. Without ABECA, you would not have the studies of the Bibles and religious homeschool textbooks. Well, I have to disagree, Amanda. ABECA books are fabulous, and I've used them for years, and they're great, wonderful, and many Christian schools use them, and I highly recommend them. However, there are several other sources of Christian schools and homeschool textbooks, so I think the homeschool and the Christian school movement would survive without ABECA. So I think you're mistaken. It's not correct to say we wouldn't have them. Okay, anyway, this business, like all the rest of the ones they own, is not taxed. Hovind probably wouldn't even be in jail if he filed the right papers, because Christian privilege permits the whole area and the nation. Oh, Amanda, you need to study what my case was about. It's not about property taxes. It's about structuring, about taking your own money out of your own bank to pay your own bills. That's one of the dumbest laws ever passed by the American Congress. That's retarded, stupid, dumb. Okay. And the enforcement of it, in my case, is...
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Incredibly ridiculous. This case should not have happened. But anyway, it's not about property taxes, so get the facts before you write an article. And Peter, you should have edited this before you posted this. Okay. Why should the churches be fencing off their tax-free property? Amanda, why is the White House fenced off? And people still fly their helicopters in there, and they arrest them, and people climb over the fence. Why do they have a fence around the White House? Why do they have a fence around the Pentagon? People fence off. Anybody can fence off their property if they want to keep people from coming and stealing their stuff. That's common sense 101. So why should churches be fencing off their tax-free property? I don't understand what you're asking for there. Okay. Why should public schools suffer while bigger churches are...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Public schools suffer. Amanda, you need to study how much money they get per child compared to how much money it costs per child to go to a Christian school. Just, Rudy, maybe you could look up some numbers. What is the cost of the average kid going through a public school per year compared to the Christian schools? I think you'll find they're spending a fortune of our money to not educate these kids. Okay, 3 more paragraphs. Let me call back.
All right, sir.
And monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $14.78. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, paragraph number 11 from Amanda. I will say it, all capital letters here. This is important, folks, pay attention. The city needs help. The county needs help. The best thing churches could do would be pay their taxes and help all of their neighbors at once. Wow, well, Amanda, if that's the hobby horse you want to ride, go for it. I'll come put a quarter in once in a while so it keeps going. Let me ask you a question. Could you do some research, Amanda, and maybe you could write an article? Does the University of West Florida in Pensacola, which owns a huge amount of property, do they pay real estate taxes on their property? Is their property tax exempt? Does Pensacola State College pay taxes on their property? Do any of the grade schools or middle schools or high schools in Pensacola or trade schools pay property tax? Does the White House pay property tax? I mean, they've got 20 acres, downtown prime property. The poor guy with the helicopter just needed a place to land. Why would they arrest him for that? Why did they put that fence up there? Does Congress, which has a huge amount of property for their big buildings, the Senate and the Congressional building, do they pay property tax? I'll tell you what, Amanda, while you're doing research on this, there's a military base in Pensacola, a really, really huge one. I'm talking huge. And there's one down in Eglin, too. Giant military base. You talk about land. Would you please find out for me, do they pay property tax in their county? Or do all the rest of the folks who live in that county have to take up the slack by paying extra because those people have taken that property off the tax rolls? See if you can find out for me. I'd like to hear about that. Okay, paragraph 12. I'm trying to organize a counter-protest. Okay, that's fine. You have that right. This is America. Praise God for that. I'm trying to organize a counter-protest to the anti-choice.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Interesting phrase here, Amanda. I'm not anti-choice. I think the baby ought to have a choice if they want to live or not. Let's give the baby a choice. Let's wait till the kid's born, get them up to about 10, 15 years old, and then ask them, would you like to be aborted? I mean, they don't get any vote on this, you know. I think the anti-choice is the one who decides you're going to make this choice for the baby and kill it before it has a chance to speak. Homophobic, in other words, afraid of homosexuality. I think you'll find churches and Christians who love to get these homosexuals saved, converted, living a normal lifestyle so they don't die at age 42 like the average homosexual does or something similar to that. We want to help these people. What they're doing is not a lifestyle, it's a death style. Don't do that, for heaven's sake. Anyway, delusional people. Delusional. I don't know what you mean by that. I think very coherently, I've seen people that drink alcohol and take drugs that are delusional. I've never taken alcohol or drugs, so I don't think I'm delusional. If so, tell me some specific. Anyway, people who came out from out of town to support Hovind. Rudy, they must be talking about you.
I guess so.
Yes, so. Okay. What I want to do is walk right into Dinosaur Adventureland and hold a large concert speaking event. Well, Amanda, we have a thing in America called property rights. Okay? You don't walk onto anybody's property and hold your concert. You might want to find out who owns the property before you go walking on to hold a concert and maybe ask, can I do this? I'll tell you what, though, the White House is public property. Why don't you go tear that fence down and go hold your concert in their front yard? They have a huge front yard, and it is immaculately manicured. Yeah, hold your concert speaking event right there, please. Okay. She says, I want to hear from people that have been hurt by these people. And I find that interesting, Amanda. Why don't you want to hear from people that have been helped? Why would you only want to hear from people that have been hurt? That's very interesting. I think you would find... Rudy, how many people could she find that have been helped by the creation ministry?
Tens of thousands, if not more.
Millions, I would say.
Yes.
Oh, it's incredible. I think you really... Why would you look for one zit on the elephant's rear end for the entire elephant? Come on. Okay. Everything science, anti-homophobic, pro-choice, climate. I find this combination of words hilarious. Climate, humanists. What is a capital H, by the way? What is a humanist? I believe in humans. I am one. person who says there's no God, how could you possibly know there's no God? You could believe that. See, atheism is a religion. Progressive Christians, I don't know what that is, what you mean by that. I'm pretty progressive. I like progress. I like to build things. Matter of fact, I helped build those buildings at Dinosaur Adventureland that you thought were really cool. And they are, by the way. So I'm progressive. Yes, ma'am. Count me in. And more is welcome. Also, I am welcome to come to your concert after you come in, walk right into Dinosaur Adventureland and hold a concert. I'm welcome to come onto the property. Well, thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Costumes would be hilarious and probably make national news. I don't know. What kind of costume would a person who's an atheist wear? That would be interesting, Rudy. I'd like to see what on earth. Maybe I got it. A dunce cap.
There you go. That'll work.
Put dunce, or just put atheist, or put moron, or evolutionist. Yeah, dunce caps. And I'll tell you what, Amanda. If you hold your concert, if you promise the people will wear them, I will supply the caps. Don't worry about it. Okay, here we go. Paragraph 13. What we will probably do is just go downtown to the courthouse. Good idea, Amanda. You can do a demonstration right there. Now be careful, they got a bunch of guards. Be careful. Okay, here, next line. A party sounds like so much more fun. Who's ready for civil disobedience? It can't be just me again. Civil disobedience? Amanda, I'm disappointed. You know what? We don't try to civil disobey. We try to obey the law. We have all along. The Bible says, the law is good if you use it lawfully, 1 Timothy 1:8. All I've ever done in my case is follow the law. I had the legal, lawful right to file a Liz Bendens, to file a Bivens suit, to appeal my court decision. There are several different types of courts, There's basketball courts and tennis courts and federal courts, and there's also a court of record, the common law court. Read the Constitution, Amendment number 7, Article 7 in the Bill of Rights. Constitutional court, I think. So that's one that this whole thing should be heard in, and probably will be. Anyway, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to write this article. I'm sorry only 2 people read it, so I thought maybe I'd help you out and get some more readers by posting this little comment on it. And I would suggest, though, that you do some research and before you believe in this evolution religion, because it's one of the dumbest and most dangerous religions in the history of America. And I really think, while you're still above room temperature, you might want to get out of that religion and learn the truth that Jesus Christ loves you. He came and died on the cross for you. He wants you to be saved. And just like the Apostle Paul, before he was Saul, killing Christians and hating Christians, once he got Jesus in his life, he was transformed. And Amanda, Jesus can transform you too. He loves you very much. But when you die, you will stand before God, whether you believe in him or not. And if you're not saved, he will cast you into hell, and you can bang your coffee cup on the bars down there saying, I don't believe in this place, I don't believe in this place. Go ahead, but I don't think it's going to turn out too good. Anyway, we'll be glad to help. If you want to learn some real science, watch my video series. They're on drdino.com. Thank you so much, brother. That's it for Amanda.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Pastor Hovind.